Sweet sound and barrel and dippily heavily ever to back up Libby Belton. Sweet sound and barrel and dippily heavily ever to back up Libby Belton. Bobby, she was prettier than Venus. She was so beautiful. Sweet sound and barrel and dippily heavily ever to back up Libby Belton. Sweet sound and barrel and dippily heavily ever to back up Libby Belton. She was love. 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 She was love.
Hello. Welcome to the Learned Council program. I am Martina, Opoku-Kwarteng, and I'll be your host for today. We have here an amazing and wonderful man. When I say amazing, I mean amazing. They say jack of all trades, master of none, but he has been able to master it all. Not only is he a biologist and a scientist, but he is also an economist. He is a professor. He is a lawyer. He is the president of the International Journalism Association. He is the president of the Distinguished Scholars of Africa, a lover of music, and a poet. I'm not done yet. He is also the author of over 40 books and still counting. He is the author of today's book titled Authority as the Superior and Fifth Factor of Production. I'm sure you are wondering what this is. Yes, authority is and should be the fifth factor of production. Here with me is the great mind behind this book. Join me and let's have a discussion with Professor Lawyer Nana Oppong. Professor, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. And how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very good.
You look amazing. I know my viewers would agree with me that you have mastered your looks as well.
Thank you very much. You look dashing. Look at the fashion statement you're making.
Thank you. I'm learning from you.
Thank you.
So, Professor, when I read this book and when I saw the title, one thing that was going through my mind, the question I was asking myself was, how did you come up with all this? What inspired you?
So apparently, there was one day when I was talking to my friend and I mentioned authority as an important factor of production, but I wasn't aware that I had said that. So when I was having a conversation with him, he said to me, what is it that you said about authority that day? And his name is Dr. Bernard Tete. He's a financial guru.
Oh, wow.
He knows a lot about economics and finance. And I said to him, what about authority? Then he started asking me more. So I started thinking about it. So if you were asking me, how did I get to speak about authority? It came to me, it gets to my head.
Ooh.
And then, of course, I started doing the research and thinking about it. And eventually I came to the conclusion that, yes, it is obvious. It's very obvious to me, and now I think the whole world will see it, that in a coded modern world, you can't do much unless you have authority. Because authority now controls, manages, and directs the economy by way of laws, by way of technologies, specifications, regulations, standards, and so on and so forth. And if you're not a part of that writer of the code, you're not a regulator, you're not the creator of the algorithms, you're not an enforcer of the relationships, the soft core of the economy. If you're not a part of that, then your economy will crumble. And that's why a lot of poor countries, they remain poor, even though they have the natural resources and they have plenty of labor and entrepreneurs, and they have money. Even if you give them billions and billions of dollars, it still doesn't work because they lack authority.
So what is this authority you are talking about?
Authority has 5 attributes. Whatever the authority does in the field of the authority is superior. They have superiority. And their work is final, so they have finality. And they have legitimacy. You can't be an authority if you're not legitimate. And they have continuity. Authorities don't come and go. It's not like today there's an authority, tomorrow there's no authority. It's continuous, like a stream, it's like a river, it's like time. And they have security. So these 5 attributes make up authority. And the essence of it, authority has power. It controls brilliant people. It controls production. It controls the use of land, labor, and capital. It creates capital, money, credit. It creates environments that makes brilliant people work to create the machines, and it regulates future research, and it directs and finances projects that you cannot even imagine. Authorities think of, anticipate future trends, and write codes to enable the manifestation of the imagination of people. So authority is actually the creator of the modern economy.
Wow.
They authored it, they wrote it, I use the word code. So it is written now. The modern economy is coded. If you haven't gone to school, if you're not into the law, you're not into engineering, if you're not into languages, written languages, you don't understand it. And so if you think of it, it's like a special club of brilliant people working together towards a project.
Authority is indeed coded. So in order for a person to be in authority, he has to have superiority, legitimacy, continuity, finality, and security.
Very good.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, Professor also taught us some mathematics in his book. He stated that the global economic power formula is the percentage global currency control multiplied by the percentage global market control. Professor, what do you mean by this?
So I wanted to simplify the plenty of language into a simple equation to let you understand that if someone has authority, the net effect of all that power is that they control, or they have a percentage control over the global currency, because the global currency really is very significant when we talk about economics. And the global currency now is the dollar. So how much control do you have over the dollar? How much percentage control do you have over the dollar? And then of course, it's not enough to have control over the dollar, you have to have production. So if you think of global outputs, products, services, how much percentage control do you have of that as well? You multiply that and you get the equation. So percentage control over the global currency, multiply percentage control over global output or productivity will give you your authority or your power. So if you think about, if you do the analysis, the most powerful nations percentage-wise will start with America. And then it goes down the drain, all the way to the African countries. So that formula is actually an enabler. It allows you to be able to understand what I'm talking about. Is the net effect of it is that you have control.
Okay. Wow.
And how can you have control over the global currency unless you have the power of law, of regulation, unless you have the power of writing codes for new products, new services, new companies, and to control the companies and the minds of the leaders of these companies and have loyalty from them, so they create for your economy, they stay in your economy, they reinvest in your economy. That requires a lot of authorizing. And so authorism, as opposed to capitalism, is a new way of creating economies. You code things and you say, well, I think we can create this product this way. These are the specifications and these are the qualifications and we need is this and that. And I say, oh yeah, I agree with that. And so you say, this is the input, this is the output, this is the connectivity, this is a fraction of it. It's all writing, plenty of writing. And the writers rule the world. I'm not talking about fictional writers. I'm talking about authorized writing.
Yeah, he also stated that authority is no entrepreneurship. What do you mean by that?
So I had a friend of mine. Unfortunately, he passed away. He was
that's sad.
a brilliant professor of economics. And he said to me when I gave him the manuscript, he said, but isn't authority entrepreneurship? I think maybe I wasn't clear in my book. So if a brilliant man like that was raising that question, I thought then I should clarify that in my book. So I sat down and I tried to explain why authority is not entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur is a person, a private person with a private project, private capacity, and private vulnerability with a mission for his self-interest, profit. And so you have millions of entrepreneurs pursuing the different objectives, some legal, some illegal, some competent, some incompetent. Entrepreneurs die, entrepreneurs sleep, entrepreneurs come and go, they go bankrupt. Exactly, you've got it. But authority is different. It regulates entrepreneurs. It is not about private profit. It's not about one person. It's not about limited capacity. They don't die. They don't go. They have continuity. They have superiority. They care about more than what the private person cares about. They care about intergenerations and the present and multiplicity, diversity of sectors and industries. So you see, the entrepreneur is one person or one company or one institution, whereas the authority is everybody's power put together in an institution in a form of authority. So it's completely different.
Okay, wow.
The entrepreneur is controlled by the authority. The authority is not controlled by anyone.
Okay, so the entrepreneur is subject to authority, and not the other way around.
Yes.
Wow, okay. You also stated that, how can authority stay in superiority?
It's very difficult to stay at the top. In fact, it's very difficult to get to the top and to stay there for several reasons. There is this natural tendency for decay, natural tendency for aging, for incompetence, for being outdated. It's part of human nature. But if you want to stay there, it means you have to double your efforts, triple your efforts, quadruple your efforts. Always make sure that you stay learned, that you stay competent, that you keep pace with the times and the knowledge. So competence, excellence is the first step to being a superior person. Then the second of all, there has to be continuity, and it builds up. You can't be building a building and then you stop, and then there's no continuity. Then you start another building, you stop. You will never build a city.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. If you want to be authority, you have to have the 5 attributes and maintain the 5 attributes.
Yes. Okay. So you also stated that the legal authority has become the all-encompassing space, the ecosystem, environment, or the enabling equations or algorithms for the useful functioning of other factors of production. What do you mean by that?
Before, let's use an example of football. You want to play football, you take a ball, you call your friends or whoever and they start playing. That's football. Now what they've done is they have leagues. It's more than just playing football.
Yeah.
It's an event, an organized event. Think of the economy as an organized event. There are rules, there are referees, there are linesmen, there's penalty, there's foul,
Free kick.
all of that is in there. And that's what authority does. It's created this system where if you want to play in the super leagues, then you have to be part of that system.
Yes.
And once you're part of that system, you're subject to them because they wrote the rules. And they even determine how much money is available, how much money is shared, the seasons, the times, the broadcasts, all of that. So the world economy is now a world written by authority, by the regulators. And when I say regulator, I'm not talking about lawyers. I'm talking about those who know what they're doing. So they'll tell you, this is how you make a bottle. It's written. This is how you create a tire. This is a standard. There's a formula. There's a standard. The minimum requirements, the material, how you do it, and then everything has to follow so that it can flow, so they can connect, so there can be collaboration, so there's reliability, so there's safety, so there's security. So in that world where everything is written, you need a writer. And not only do you need a writer, you need someone to ensure that the writing is actually interpreted the way it's supposed to be interpreted and applied the way it's supposed to be applied. And when you deviate, for them to say, oh, wait a minute, you're not doing the right thing, this is it. And then to train people to take over and to continue. So the writer, the trainer, the interpreter, and the enforcer, all of that is authority. If you don't have the authority, how can you have the game? How can you print the money? And who controls the currencies? Who makes sure the counterfeits are out and the standards are kept and the interest rates are at a certain reasonable rate and then inflation is maintained or reduced and. So if you look at it, authority plays a critical role in the hardware. Authority is a software complementing and directing the hardware use of the economy. If you think of the hardware as people.
People, okay.
And maybe land, authority then supplies the enabling environment, the norms, the language, the expectations, the intellectual inputs, even go as far as even the spiritual input, so that people behave as they should, perform as they should, as expected, and then we get the outcomes that we want. Without authority, everybody will be doing what they want. How do they know which specifications, which minimum standards and requirements? Why, if there's no authority, how can you have standardization, uniformity? You won't have it.
You wouldn't, yes. So is that why you say authority controls all the other factors of production?
Absolutely. The factors of production now, what are they? In some places, land is owned by authority. It's owned by the state. Many countries. So that's number one. Number two, labor, the same as entrepreneurs, they're human beings. They're trained, licensed, regulated, professionalized by authority. The books, the schools, the qualifications, all run by authority. And then, of course, when we talk about capital, for the most part, it is money. When you have money, you have capital.
Yeah.
And money is printed or created or
By
regulated or
authority.
controlled by authority.
Yeah.
This so-called cryptocurrency, it doesn't exist anywhere except online.
Online.
And it's backed by authority.
Authority.
If there's no authority, the whole thing crumbles. So you see, and people are investing billions, and they believe in it. Why? Because
Because
something
of
that doesn't
authority.
even exist in reality becomes real because authority says it exists.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
So human beings are like sheep. We need our shepherd. We're like children. We need our parents. We're like students. We need our teachers. We're like blind. We need our leaders and
Yes.
guides. So when authority emerges, it is a natural consequence of a number of people doing a variety of things in the different ways. And if authority doesn't come, there'll be chaos, there'll be confusion, there'll
Yeah.
even be war, because everybody wants to do what they want to do. In a
Yes.
limited space, that will lead to confusion and war.
We need authority. You also made mention of 3 laws that can make authority absolutely necessary within the context of a connected world. These are the first law, I quote, within a fixed time and space, conflicting motions avoid collision only by obeying a harmonizing rule. What do you mean by this first law?
So there are 3 reasons why there's always going to be authority. There's more, but I'm only citing 3. The first one is whenever human beings gather, there's a tendency for opposition, for
Yes.
chaos,
Yes.
because everybody is pursuing their self-interest, and oftentimes they conflict. I want to go. No, I want to go west. I want to go first. I want to go first. And standards, cooperation, it will never work unless you have an authority.
Authority.
So authority comes to prevent chaos and to harmonize opposing groups and to get rid of the extremes. That's the work of authority. Wherever you see a lot of people come together, if there is no authority, there is conflict. So
Yes.
if you want to avoid conflict, you obey authority. And I use the example of the traffic, that when we're traveling in opposite directions, if there's no authority, there will be collision. 'Cause somebody wants to go east, west, north, south at the same time on the same road. It's not going to work. Authority comes and says, you stop, you go, you stop, you go. So that you stop, you go, the regulation, and when there's chaos, avoiding or preventing or minimizing the consequences of that chaos, that is the work of authority. So authority is necessary because according to nature, human beings in groups cannot work together unless they have authority.
Authority. And in this instance, is the authority the laws?
Yes, but the laws are methods and objectives and expectations and requirements to achieve a goal. So for example, if we don't want the environment to be very hot, then there will be a law we pass and say don't cut trees. The don't cut trees is just to maintain the trees that are there so that we have the moisture and the regulation of the environment and all that. So the laws actually come to achieve a purpose. Smart people therefore create laws, not so that people just obey for the sake of obedience, but so that they will achieve a certain goal. So there are laws governing electricity,
Yes.
water, machines, medicine, and the authorities in those areas set the laws as necessary to do's or don't do's in order to achieve the objective set by the community.
Okay. So the second law, as you said, is within a fixed time and space, varied motions repeat the same frequencies only by obeying a directional rule.
Yeah, so you find that normally human beings have different languages, different colors, different gender, different class, different politics, different backgrounds, different capacities. Everybody wants to do their own thing depending on who they are.
Yeah.
If you find all these different people doing the same thing, then it means someone is telling them what to do,
What to
or
do.
they follow in the same direction. So if people start wearing the same clothes, the same colors, eating the same food, speaking the same language, then there's a reason, there's a source for it. So I'm saying that if you see people in different worlds, different countries, different tribes, different regions, religions, all doing the same thing, they do so because they are listening to and obeying an authority.
Yes.
So authority is necessary to get the global world to enjoy the same goods, live according to the same standards, speak according to the same laws, obey the same laws, behave accordingly. So if you want a one world, a global order, you can't have it unless you have authority. So authority actually makes the world run possible. The planes running, the trains, the medicine being shipped, the foods, the clothes being worn. Otherwise, you have the bombers bombing everybody and you'll be able to travel around the world. Authority is very critical.
Yes. Okay. The third law is with a fixed time and space, changes in motion occur only by obeying a displacement. Can you explain this?
Yeah, so if we are used to using analog, how would we transit to digital unless somebody comes and tells you, stop the analog and move to digital?
Yeah.
We are used to transportation by feet. How would we move unless someone comes, oh, I have a new invention, it's a bicycle.
Yes.
Or I have a new invention, it's a car, it's an airplane, it's a ship, it's a train and all that. So that transition from what we're used to another usually occurs because of external party. And if there's a lot of people doing it, then all of us are following one person, one institution, one source. So when change occurs, when we change our direction, the food we eat, how we think, how we do things, it always happens because there is an authority telling us what to do, showing us what to do, or ordering us the way to do things.
Okay. Professor, we would have to take a quick commercial break. Viewers, stay tuned. There's more to come with Professor Lawyer Nana Oppong.
Sweet sound the barrel dippily heavily ever to back up be belting. Sweet sound the barrel dippily heavily ever to back up be belting. Bobby, she was prettier than Venus. She was so beautiful. Sweet sound the barrel dippily heavily ever to back up be belting. Sweet.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Learned Council program. I am Martina, Opoku-Kwarteng, and I am your host for today's show. We have here the great mind behind authority as the fifth and superior factor of production. If you just tuned in, let's enjoy this conversation with Prof. So Prof, before the break, I wanted to ask you this question about microbiotic. I mean, if you just tuned in, I mentioned earlier that Prof is the master of all. He has mastered it all. I mean, from economics to biology to science to law and everything. He has also mastered microbiotic. He invented microbiotics physics. So let me ask you, how does this relate to authority?
Microbiotic physics is the proposition or the branch of physics that says that reality is actually made up of the least possible objects called the microbit. And it is the fastest possible object as well. So if you think of reality, the fundamental reality is not object, but it's endless, infinite space. That's the matter of reality. It's nothing. The matter of reality, actually, you can't see, you can't touch, you can't feel it, but it's always there. And it's a thing that you can never imagine as being destroyed. You can think of the world being away, but you cannot imagine space not being there.
Yes.
And then it doesn't have a limit. Right? It's always there. But in it comes the microbit, and it's the fastest possible object. So if you think of speed, microbit is the fastest. But from one microbit, we get everything. So everything that you see in the world, you and me, mountains, stars, animals, vegetation, they all come from microbit. We all microbit. Then the question is, how do you get a variety from one? Arrangement, knowledge, principles, wisdom, understanding. So if from wisdom you can get all this variety, then it means when we get some wisdom, we can actually expand productivity. We can create all kinds of things that we've never imagined. So microbiotic physics offers us the possibility of expanding our technological world beyond even space. And what in that world will be scarcity? There will be no scarcity because reproduction, expansion, growth, variety, creativity will be the order of the day. We can create almost anything that we want. What is food? What is shelter? What is machine? What is clothing? So microbiotic physics says that the world is given to us for abundance. We can create abundance. We don't have to have poverty. Why should human beings born on the planet Earth be starving to death? That's ignorance. Reality, when you have knowledge, there should be plenty of food for everyone. That should be the least of our problems. And houses, what are houses? Just mud put together with trees and things, and you call it a house. We should be able to create houses for everyone. And medicine, there should be plenty of medicine for everyone. So the world itself doesn't have scarcity. Scarcity is a function of ignorance. And at this time, it's not even ignorance, it is politics. Because we have enough knowledge to create enough food and enough medicine for all to treat a lot of people who are sick. We're not doing that because of priorities.
Yeah,
Do you understand?
self-interest.
Well, self-interest is natural, but priorities,
Okay.
we can change our priorities and that becomes our self-interest and then we take care of people.
Okay.
So microbial physics tells us if everything comes from one and then you have endless, then we can use that one to create endless things.
Endless things. We've learned something about microbial physics today. Okay, so in economics, there's this theory of scarcity, as you mentioned earlier. So how does authority stop or resolve this issue of scarcity?
That's what I was saying. Authority has to acquire more and more knowledge so that they can create more and more technologies and products and ways of doing things that will enable us to be able to create the things that we need. We don't need much as humanity, as you see. So if you look at Maslow's hierarchy, the basic, you know, we start with food, shelter, clothing, and there's enough for all. Authorities then have to reprioritize to make sure instead of spending billions and billions of unnecessary things, we start first by prioritizing life.
Yes.
The life of every human being is very important, and that every human being has the right to food, the right to medicine. For me, I think if you don't feed the people and they die, or you don't treat them and they die, you've committed a crime. So every authority has to make sure that they put your resources together, the teams together, so that in every nation, even in the poorest nation, nobody dies from hunger and nobody dies from maltreatment.
Wow. So is there actually a right authority or true authority? I mean,
every authority that has the 5 attributes is authority. Now, you may not like what they do, that's a different issue, but authority is authority. It's like saying every car is a car. It has the functions of a car, but you may not like the car, but it still moves as a car.
Yes.
So authority is authority is authority.
Wow, okay. You also made mention of the fact that the power of authority on any of the factors of production is inescapable and grows exponentially over time. Can you elaborate on this statement?
Yeah, authorities control the use of land, and in many places they control the land.
Yeah.
And then authorities control people, and when you control people, you control labor and entrepreneurs, and you control even their minds by education, by indoctrination, by norms and culture, and by what they watch, by the options available to them. Some countries, even the internet is regulated, even the television is all propaganda, and so you control people that way. And of course, we talked about capital as being something authority creates. Authority can create money, right?
Yes.
Dollar.
Yes.
People love it. So authority has this controlling power over the other factors of production. And the more authority becomes powerful, the less these factors become important to authority, because you can just tell them, use them anyhow it sees. So you see, the authority is almost the mind of the economy. I repeat, authority is the mind. You see in the quote in the beginning of the work, I talk about the controlling minds of the earth.
Yes.
That's what authority is. And if you're the mind of the economy, then you're actually running the show.
Yes.
Because the legs, the hands, and all of that, they have to listen to and obey and be directed by the mind.
Yes.
So authority is really the head of the economy. So you can't have an economy without authority.
You also dedicated one paragraph to global scramble, and I was wondering, what is this global scramble?
Yeah. Ignorant people think we should go and look for gold. Right now as we talk to you, see people digging very hard.
You know?
People looking for gold. I don't blame them because they're not authority. But the smart people have figured out that what you need is not the gold. Because if you control the people with the gold, then you can tell them when and how much to go to dig and bring it to you, and they'll bring it to you.
Yes.
So the scramble now is not for natural resources, but it's for authority. And so those who have authority, then being the mind of the economy, the mind of the world, they control the rest of the people. And then you get everything that you want.
Yeah.
People make medicine. People discover. People innovate. People research. People create. People build. So when you control the brilliant people, then you control the machines, the technologies, the medicines, the polity. Everything is now controlled by you. So the scramble now in the world is not for oil and gold. These are old school things.
If you have authority, you can control everything.
So now the struggle is for authority and to remain at the top,
At
not
the
to
top.
slip. It's very hard if you've been authority to come down and not be an authority because
Yes.
it's so sweet, right? The
Yeah.
authorities, they enjoy the finesse of things, the finest of things come to them, and they
Yeah.
tell people what to do. They say, how much money do you want? You say, I want $1 billion, please, please, please. $1 million. I think they feel good. So they're
Yes.
struggling to be at the top. But it's not easy because uneasy is the head that wears the crown.
Wow. Wow. I told you he has mastered it all. He also made mention of the fact that authorism should replace capitalism. What do you mean by that?
Well, there was a time when people actually thought capitalists are the ones cheating workers, and that capitalists are really not as important as workers in the production cycle. And communism was born, and socialism was born. And you know there are parties which are called communist parties as we speak, and
Yes.
socialist parties. The whole thing was capital was made to be a big deal. And so capitalism was the whole idea of people with capital exploiting the workers. But I'm saying to you now, that was old school. In the new school, authorism, which means the rule of authority by authority in the modern world, the coded world, is more important than people who have capital. People with capital are not running the world now. It's authorities running the world. And they direct and control. And they can create capitalists. What is a capital? It is someone who says, I have some money and I have some machines, or my money can buy some machines, or I can buy some equipment, I can buy some tools. But now with the monetized world, everything can be bought by money. So whoever prints the money controls the dollar or the currency, is the boss of capital,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because without printing, when they print, they can go and buy all the machines or get people to print them, make the machines. So capitalism is now less important than authorism. So I wanted to replace capitalism, socialism, communism, all these isms with authorism because the new master of the economy is authority.
Wow. Okay, so I also read about something about digital cartoon economy. You said now the economy is the digital cartoon economy. So what do you mean by that? Because when I read it, I was thinking about Tom and Jerry and the water views. So what do you mean by that?
Digital cartoon economy. We are all cartoons. If you think of it, cartoons of nature. Whereas we create cartoons and we put them on the screen, right? And then they go moving around. If they had consciousness, they won't think themselves a cartoon. They'll think they're very just like us. But what I mean is, the options that we have are predetermined by the knowledge and the applications and the options created by authority. Even when you go online, the things that you can see or not see, applications available or run by authorities. And if you look at your life now, from your fashion to your phones, your computers, even to the food some people eat, controlled by factories run by digitization, by machines run by digitization, and so on and so forth. And increasingly, the world is being monitored, is under surveillance. The world is being structured by technologies. The world is being controlled by technologies. Even education and communication, socialization and norms, and even what people call love relations are being directed and infused by technologies. So the ones who run these technologies, make them available and update them and control them, authorities. So in that world, human beings are more subject to technology and therefore subject to more by authority, because authorities run and create these applications and machines. I call it advanced slaved performance. So you are actually thinking you're very sophisticated and that you are free and that you are equal and all that, but you're not.
You're not.
You're
That's
programmed
true.
all by authority. So if you're not a part of those running this show, this running the system, you're not free. And when we transport that into economics, it means that those running that application, that machine, that factory, that industry, that sector, those writing the codes and enforcing it, they're more important than those who show up as I'm an entrepreneur, or I have some capital, I have some land.
Yes.
Because
authority.
just look at one industry, for example, when we talk about cryptocurrency, where is the land in the cryptocurrency?
It's all digital.
And who's controlling that? Where is the money? Who's who actually seen the money? Is there a place where the money is hiding? There's no place where the money is hiding. So what's happening? It's just this one say, yeah, I certify. This one, I also certify. Certification across. It is all authority. It is based on trust. But it's authority. So if you take away authority, that so-called currency doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Even the paper currency, if you lose trust in the so-called authority, that paper becomes useless. And on and on and on it goes. So authority is actually the builder and the mind of the modern economy.
Wow.
And it shapes it, it directs it, it paints it. If you think of it as an artist, authority is the one that has the brush and is on the canvas and is painting. And then we all so, ooh, we are the economy. But he drew the economy and we fit into it.
Yeah. He also said authority is the alchemy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
why did you say so?
You think of alchemy is the ability to transform something into something so it eventually becomes gold or diamond or something very precious. And authority is able to get brilliant people to work together, to put codes together. So from the sand, you get a mineral that is transformed into a wire, and then this one is transformed into a machine, and before that wire and the machine put together, and you have vroom, movement. So it's almost magical. You can't get that done. If I'm brilliant and I don't have authority, then his brilliance will not work with my brilliance, and his brilliance will not work with our brilliance. Yeah. Authority puts us together. Remember I was talking about the harmonizer and the unifier and the director. So authority has this capacity to take brilliant people, and I keep on using the word brilliant because that's how the world is run, and then say to them, I want a car, I want an airplane, I want a vaccine, I want, and here, goes, authority goes, which means he grows them, organizes them, enables them, and secures them. So he says, here's the money. What do you need? You need research, you need a house, you need a car, what do you need?
Then it comes.
And then, before you know, they've created the car, they've created the machine, they've created the vaccine. Because authority is also an inspirer. It's like a teacher. It's like a mother. Authority is like the light that says, come, I'm here. And when they come, they can see better. Because without authority, everybody's in the dark. Yeah. Because I don't know what you're doing, you don't know what I'm doing. But when authority lights up the place, then all of us, oh, you're doing this, I'm doing this, and you're doing this. Yes. Okay, let's come together. So authority is an enabler. It creates that soft conditions, that enabling mindset, relationship that allows of collaboration for innovation, for discoveries. That's why countries which have great authorities, you see the discoveries, and then you're actually amazed. How did they do it? Because of authority. And countries that don't have great leaders, you see falling buildings, you see diseases, a lot of mad people, a lot of confusion, because there's no leader.
So the authority moves with the authority.
Authorism is the life, the regime, the environment run, controlled, directed by authority. Okay. And it's more important than any of the factors of production.
So let's talk about the exclusion of African nations from the membership in the global authority. Is this as a result of superior authorities?
Okay, so first of all, some nations have learned how to be authority by going to school. They set up colonialism and slavery and slave trade, which gave them 400 years or 200 years or more or less put together to learn how to be authority over others. What are the ingredients, the elements of authority, the principles of authority? How do you do it? How do you subject a whole lot of people to being your subjects and slave and listening to you? What laws, what language, what benefits, what carrots, right? What sticks? Yeah. And so you see, some nations have had years of practice, should I say centuries of practice. African nations have been on the receiving end of not being authority, but being subjects. And they're still subjects. Yeah. There's a lot of history explaining why they've been subjects. It was not always like that, but for the past 400 years, it has not gone very well for Africans. And it needs to change. Yeah. But to the point, African nations, right now, they don't have authority. It's not just African nations. poor nations don't have authority. And the fact that you are poor is a statement that you don't have authority.
Yeah.
You can't have authority and be poor.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as poor authority.
Yeah.
But all the
agree.
subjects are poor. So if you want to be rich or powerful or ruler, then you need to start having the qualities of competence, excellence, superiority, and then you translate that into finality. And of course, legitimacy, continuity, and security. It's not easy, but it's doable. Because the people who have authority now, they were not born like that, right? It started somewhere.
Okay. You also mentioned that global authority has the power to weaken people. How does this happen?
If I have power and I don't like you, I can weaken you. I can cause chaos and confusion, make sure you don't develop, make sure you're always subject to me and subservient.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to happen. It doesn't always happen, but it can happen.
Okay.
That authority can oppress. Authority can destroy. Authority can also create and help and support and develop. It has the power. So the way authority goes depends on the character of the people in charge. If you think of authority, think of it as money. You can use money to do evil, or you can use money to do good.
Good.
It's like a weapon. You can use a weapon to do good, or you can use a weapon to do bad.
Yeah.
So authority can go anyway. It's a responsibility of the poor countries and the weak countries to start seeking to become authorities. And my recommendation is not that they go and beg to be authority. You can't beg to be an authority. You can't stay there. It's like when royals meet, they do royal things. And if you're not royal, what are you going to do there? So they have to become authorities. You start first with a sector, an area. Then eventually it becomes an industry. And eventually it becomes 2 and 3 and 4 and then you are an authority.
Yeah.
Be an authority over agriculture, for example. Be an authority over medicine, because it's very important for your health and for yourself. Be an authority over machines, technologies. Start with the basic needs that you have. Is it bicycles? Is it cars? Is it radios? Is it television? What you need.
Yeah.
And then ultimately you work on it. But if you never start, you get nowhere. And that's the problem. A lot of African countries and poor countries think that they should just go and get money. They see that the economy gets better with money. It doesn't.
Yeah.
There's no evidence anywhere in the world the economy became better because they had money.
Yeah.
The economy gets better when you have authorities who know what they're doing,
Yeah.
because you become the mind of the people in the economy. And then when you're smart, they become smart. When you're hardworking, they become hardworking. When you're creative, they become creative. When you're innovative, they become innovative. If you're dumb, they become dumb. If you're slow, they become slow. So as the authority is the mind of the people, the authority has to be enlightened, creative, technologically savvy, engineers. Then the people become technologically savvy, creative, engineers. So you think of authority as the mother of the economy. And the people as the children. When the mother is crazy, the children are also crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've learned so far that authority is the alchemy. Authority goes. And we've also learned something about microbitic fixed. Let's move on. You also mentioned that legal authority. You also mentioned that there are exclusive clubs made up of nations in authority. So how can the nations who are excluded from the exclusive clubs take the necessary efforts in order to become a relevant authority?
If you think of authority as a tribe, when a tribe meets, if you join them and you're not a tribe's member, when they speak, you won't hear. When they practice, you won't understand. When they move, you'll be left alone. So if you want to be a member of the tribe, be that tribe member, which means you speak the language, you start practicing. So act as one of them. So if you want to be a lord, go into the House of Lords, you have to be a lord.
Yeah. Wow.
And so it's very simple. It's hard work. It means we have to start creating a whole generation of Africans in poor countries, children from poor countries who are brilliant, and then they become authorities in something. That's one thing. Then a second thing, then a third, and a fourth, and that builds up. And eventually, they will have significant authority in something that matters to them.
Yeah.
And then you take it from there. Then they will be considered and invited to attend meetings of authorities because they've done something, right? It's not possible that if you're a very good musician, brilliant, that when you do music, they won't call you. They'll call you because you have something to contribute. The same thing in every field. So when they become authorities, they will be called authorities. And they'll be coordinating with other authorities because they will have something the other authority wants or needs or respects or values. But it's like they have a saying in Ashanti that children that know how to wash their hands eat with the adults. So if you want to eat with the adults but your hands are dirty, they won't call you to come and eat with them.
Yes.
So the first thing is help yourself.
Yes.
You see, when they say 4 factors of production, people went and trained entrepreneurs, right? They went looking for the land or the resources and the labor and the capital. But now I'm saying 5. So go look for the 5th one. Because in a world run by minds, by intelligent people, by laws, by technology and codes and languages and programs and algorithms, you need to be a mind to rule and to be a decision maker. And being a mind, being a ruler, being a decision maker means being an authority. If you don't understand that, then how can you even take the first step to running your economy?
Yeah.
They have monetized the world, digitized the world, regularized the world, and they put regulations and everything in it. In that world of money, of technology, and of laws, the ruler determines everything.
Everything.
And so when your name is not in the registry, when you show up, you are an alien. And that alien, you take largesse, gifts, grants. You don't have rights.
Yes.
So in that new world order, those who are not authority have no rights. They only get some benefits. And even the benefits are ad hoc, if and when.
Yeah.
But we have to change that. We are the children of God. And if some of our brothers and sisters are authorities and they're lording over us, for now, we can just hope that we have good relations with them, that they won't lord it too bad. But in the long run, you can't be a brother if you're a slave.
Yeah.
So you have to start having your authority yourself. And that's competence. And a part of the problem that we have in Africa, a lot of times, education is creating a system where a lot of people are confident with incompetence. You see it everywhere. It's like when people do wrong things and they look at you and they look at them and say, haven't you seen that before? This is how it is done. It is done wrongly all the time. So the wrongs, the incompetence have become normal. We should stop accepting incompetence and start practicing excellence. Then we become authorities in our lives, in our schools, in our churches, in our mosques, in our factories, on the streets, in our institutions, in our politics. I see Africans as having excellent potential, which will never be achieved unless they become authorities.
So, Prof, before we part ways, is there anything you would like to add?
The only thing I want to add is you can't succeed in this world if you don't take authority seriously.
Yes.
And we should all start studying authority, the attributes of authority, how you become an authority, and how do you stay authority, and be one, be authority. Otherwise, you are nobody.
Thank you very much. Viewers, before we part ways, I would like to remind you all that we need to have authority. And in order to have authority, you must have continuity, superiority, and finality, legitimacy, and also security. This is the Learned Council program. I am Martina, Opoku-Kwarteng, and we had a wonderful discussion with Professor Lawyer Nana Oppong. See you next time. Thank you.
Sweet sound the barrel of dippily heavily ever to back up be building. Sweet sound the barrel of dippily heavily ever to back up be building. Bobby, she was pretty.